Well, the humble typewriter, once an everyday office staple, has long been forgotten, relegated to the history books. But now one young man is starting a typewriter revolution in the most unexpected way. Architect student James Cook is the creative mind behind these incredible pictures, and the antiques are the tools of his trade.
It's incredible stuff. The 23-year-old's palette might be limited to just 2 colours, but his masterpieces are earning him commissions from all over the world, even appearing on album covers and gaining celebrity fans. Look at this. James Cook joins us live from London. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Where did this idea come from?
I started about 5 years ago, and I was at college at the time and I was taking art. And just through my research, I came across this guy by the name of Paul Smith who had cerebral palsy. And unfortunately, because of his condition, he couldn't use a pencil or a paintbrush to do drawings, but he actually started to use typewriters, and from doing about 70 years of throughout his career, he ended up producing these amazing portraits and drawings, and I was really inspired by his stories. So yes, I started about 5 years ago, and I haven't stopped ever since.
Okay, so here's the thing: where are you finding the typewriters? So that's the first thing. And then there's the ribbons that go with it. So you might be able to pick up a typewriter, but the ribbons to go with it. How are you getting hold of this stuff?
Typewriters are so hard to get hold of. Yeah. I mean, they've been around much longer than computers, but everyone that I speak to, either a generation older than me, perhaps 1 or 2 generations older, either owned a typewriter or they used them. And it's just so difficult to get hold of them. Even so, I go around junkyard shops, charity shops, and no, impossible to come across because they're an antique or people have either forgotten about them. So typewriters are really hard to get hold of, but you can still get hold of the ribbons, luckily.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's where I live. I live north of London, and there's a really tiny stationery shop that gets them in just for me.
Wow.
His only customer. So
you're keeping them in ribbon business. And what happens when they break down? You couldn't find a typewriter service guy in all of the UK.
I have to do all of the servicing, and the typewriters that I get hold of, they come in all different states. They tend to not work completely. So, but I use them to the best of my abilities. Some of the keys don't work, some of the hammers are stuck down, but I can still produce drawings. I may not be able to produce a Word document from them anymore, but you can still do portraits.
So take us through the technique, James. Do you work to a pattern, or is it freehand, if you like? Take us through the process.
So a lot of it is freehand, so it entirely depends. So ever so recently I've been doing a lot of drawings on locations. So I've actually been going to parts of the UK and taking the typewriter with me. So I've been looking at the view as it was in front of me. So, I'll find park benches to sit on and do some drawings. And then it's very difficult to do someone's portrait and to have someone sit there in front of me. So if someone has commissioned me to do a drawing, I'll just get them to send a photograph of me. And normally what I do is if I'm doing a portrait of someone's face, I'll start with the eyes because it's the hardest part to do of the face.
And what do people think when they walk past you? They're sitting in the park, a man on his own with a typewriter on his lap, just using one finger to constantly hit a button.
I get some really... no, it is. I do get some funny looks from people, but, it doesn't matter because I think they're curious to see what I'm up to as well. I haven't done it that much outdoors, but, I do certainly get some strange looks from people.
OK, here's the thing. Which key gets used the most?
Oh, probably the @ symbol.
@
Yeah, just because it's... basically, if I'm doing shading, I use the @ symbol a lot because it has quite a large surface area, or at least that's, and, if I'm doing shading, what I'll do is I'll sort of type a line and then I'll just type over it over and over again. So I build up the layers to get the shadows in the drawing.
OK, so Napoleon Dynamite actor John Heder has shared your work online and now has his own portrait. Is this like a dream come true for you?
It really is. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Napoleon Dynamite.
That's great.
Unfortunately, I didn't see it when it came out in the cinemas, but it's become one of those cult films. And I was very fortunate to have him repost the drawing, but also he came to London a couple of years ago to Comic-Con, and I was there to see him in person, where I actually handed him the drawing. And when I spoke to him, he said, "Oh yeah, there's someone on Instagram that does these typewriter drawings called James Cook." And I said, "Yeah, that's me. I do these drawings." And I think he was quite shocked to see that it was actually me handing him this drawing. And yeah, so that was brilliant.
Yeah. And just quickly, the favourite picture you've ever done, James?
My favourite picture? I mean, probably the Napoleon Dynamite one. I think if I was to pick a building, probably I did a drawing of St Pancras Station a couple of years ago now, and I sort of regret selling that one because I would have kept that.
Well, a lot of work into
that. James Cook, as we say goodbye, have you or any of your distant relatives ever sailed to Australia?
Who knows? Who knows, eh? Probably.
Just had to ask. OK, James Cook, thank you very much.
It's a good name to remember, isn't it?
It's a good name, yes, thank you.
Thanks, James. Really challenging.
Thank you.
We'll be back right after this.